The silk dress slipped through Nelo's fingers like water as she stood before the mirror, her dark skin glowing against the emerald fabric. She didn't hear him enter, didn't sense the storm brewing behind her until his voice cut through the silence like a blade. That dress isn't leaving this house. And neither are you. Park Ji-hoon stood in the doorway, his jaw set in that way that meant negotiation was over. But it wasn't anger in his eyes. It was something far more dangerous. Possession. The kind of raw, controlled intensity that made her heart stutter, even as fury burned in her chest. "You don't own me, Ji-hoon," she whispered, hating how her voice shook. He crossed the room in 3 strides, his hand sliding along her throat, tilting her face up to meet his gaze. Not rough, but firm enough to remind her exactly who stood before her. "Don't I?" His thumb traced her racing pulse. "This says otherwise. Taemin is just a friend. I don't care what he is." His voice was quiet, deadly quiet. "You think I'm going to let you walk into that gala, looking like sin wrapped in silk? Let every man there imagine what's mine?" His grip tightened slightly. "You're my wife, Nelo. That means something in my world." "And what about my world?" Her eyes flashed. "The one where I have friends? Where I'm not just Mrs. Park?" Something flickered across his face. Something that might have been pain if Ji-hoon allowed himself to feel such things openly. Instead, his expression hardened. "Your world became my world the moment you said yes to me. I thought you understood that." Welcome to Afro-Korean Love Stories. If you're loving this story, hit that like button and subscribe, because what you're about to watch would leave you speechless. Tell me in the comments which city you're watching from. I'd really love to know. Now let's dive into it. 18 months earlier, Nelo had arrived in Seoul with 2 suitcases and a determination to build her own path. Her father, Ambassador Okonkwo, had been stationed there for 3 years, and she'd finally decided to join him for her master's program at Seoul National University. The library became her sanctuary. 4th floor, East Wing, where she could study international trade policy without interruption. That's where she first saw him. Park Ji-hoon didn't belong in a university library. He was too polished, too commanding. Everything about him screamed power and danger wrapped in expensive tailoring. But there he was, 3 tables away, reading through business documents with the focus of a man who didn't waste time on things that didn't matter. She noticed him because he was impossible not to notice. Broad shoulders filling out a charcoal suit, strong jaw, dark eyes that seemed to calculate everything around him. He had the kind of presence that made people unconsciously move out of his way. For 2 weeks, she saw him there. Same time, same focused intensity. They never spoke, but Nelo felt his gaze on her more than once, heavy and assessing. On the 15th day, he was suddenly at her table. "You're the ambassador's daughter," he said. Not a question, a statement. Nelo looked up, her heart jumping at his proximity. Up close, he was even more devastating. "And you are Park Ji-hoon." He pulled out the chair across from her without asking. "I've been watching you. That's concerning." "Is it?" A slight smile. "Barely there. I prefer thorough." "Thorough sounds like stalking. Call it what you want. Have dinner with me tomorrow night." The audacity made her laugh. "You don't even know my name." Nelo Okonkwo, 24. Master's student in International Relations. "You take your coffee with 2 sugars. You're left-handed. And you're the most captivating woman I've seen in years." He stood. "Tomorrow, 7 o'clock. I'll send a car." "I haven't said yes." "You will." He buttoned his suit jacket. "Women like you don't end up in libraries at midnight by accident. You're ambitious, driven, looking for something more than what you've been given." His eyes held hers. "I can show you exactly what more looks like." He left before she could respond, and Nelo sat there, her heart racing, knowing she should decline. Knowing that men like Park Ji-hoon were dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with physical harm. But at 6:55 the next evening, she was standing outside her father's building when a black Mercedes pulled up. The restaurant was exclusive. The kind of place that didn't have prices on the menu because if you had to ask, you didn't belong there. Ji-hoon commanded the space without effort. Staff moved around him with practiced deference. Other diners glanced his way with recognition and what looked like careful respect. "What exactly do you do, Ji-hoon?" Nelo asked over wine that probably cost more than her monthly stipend. "I manage my family's interests. Real estate, shipping, investments." His expression gave nothing away. "We've built an empire over 3 generations." That's a very diplomatic answer. "I'm a diplomatic man when it suits me. And when it doesn't." His smile was sharp. "Then I'm something else entirely." It should have scared her. Instead, it sent heat curling through her stomach. Over the next 3 months, Ji-hoon pursued her with calculated precision. Expensive dinners, weekend trips to Jeju Island, private concerts where he'd watch her more than the performance. He never pushed, never demanded, but his presence was constant. Overwhelming. Intoxicating. "Why me?" Nelo asked one night, standing on his penthouse balcony overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. They'd been seeing each other for 4 months. 4 months of loaded glances and carefully controlled touches. Ji-hoon kept her at arm's length physically, but she felt claimed by him anyway. He moved behind her, his chest against her back, his breath warm on her neck. "Because you're brilliant, beautiful, and you don't bow to anyone." His hands settled on her hips. "I've spent my life surrounded by people who want something from me. You just want to be seen." His lips brushed her ear. "I see you, Nelo. Every part of you. What if you don't like what you see? Then I'll like it anyway. Because it's yours." She turned in his arms and finally, he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was claiming. Possessive. His hands in her hair, her back against the railing, his body pressing into hers like he was trying to fuse them together. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark, intense. "You're mine now," he said simply. "Say it." "That's very presumptuous." "Say it, Nelo." "Yours," she whispered, and felt something shift. Something irrevocable. 6 months after that first kiss, Nelo moved into Ji-hoon's penthouse. Not because he demanded it, but because spending nights apart had become physically painful. She'd wake reaching for him, only to find empty sheets and the cold reality that he was across the city in his world while she remained in hers. Her father had concerns. Serious ones. "Park Ji-hoon isn't just a businessman, Nelo," Ambassador Okonkwo had said over dinner at the embassy. "His family's name carries weight in Seoul. The kind of weight that comes with complications." "I know who he is, Dad." "Do you?" Her father's eyes were sad. "Because the man you're in love with controls half of Seoul's underground operations. The Parks don't just build empires through legal means. He's never lied to me about what he does." "Has he told you the truth?" That question haunted her. Because Ji-hoon was careful with his words. He'd show her his world in glimpses, the late-night phone calls he'd take in Korean, speaking in tones that made grown men nervous. The meetings at his office where dangerous-looking men treated him like a king. The way restaurant owners refused his money and shopkeepers bowed lower than necessary. But he never explained. Never volunteered information about the darker parts of his life. "I handle my family's business," he'd say when she asked. "Some of it is legitimate. Some of it exists in gray areas. But I protect what's mine, and I don't apologize for that." It should have been enough to make her run. Instead, it made her want to understand him more. Living with Ji-hoon meant entering a world of luxury she'd never imagined. His penthouse was a fortress of glass and steel with security that rivaled her father's embassy. Staff who appeared and disappeared like ghosts. A closet full of clothes that had appeared the day she moved in, each piece selected specifically for her taste and size. "How did you know my measurements?" she'd asked, running her hands over silk blouses and designer dresses. "I pay attention," was all he said. Their nights together were intense. Ji-hoon was demanding in ways that made her pulse race. He'd come home late, smelling of expensive cologne and something darker, cigarette smoke and the particular tension that came from handling problems most people couldn't imagine. He'd find her in his office or reading in bed, and the way he'd look at her made her feel like the only thing in the world that mattered. Come here, he'd say, his voice low and commanding. And Nelo would go. Every time. Because when Ji-hoon touched her, when he pulled her into his lap and buried his face in her neck, she felt something she'd never felt before. Wanted.
Claimed.
Cherished in a way that was both terrifying and addictive. Tell me about your day, he'd murmur against her skin, his hands sliding under her shirt. You first. My day was handling business. Yours is more interesting. It became their ritual. She'd tell him about her classes, her research, her debates with professors. And he'd listen like every word was precious, his hands mapping her body with possessive familiarity while his eyes stayed locked on hers. I love listening to you talk about things that matter to you, he said one night, his fingers tracing patterns on her thigh. It reminds me there's more to life than the darkness I deal with. It was the closest he'd come to vulnerability, and Nelo held onto it like a lifeline. But there were rules in Ji-hoon's world. Unspoken ones that she learned quickly. Don't ask about his meetings. Don't question when he leaves in the middle of the night. Don't push when he comes home with bruised knuckles and a jaw set so tight she could see the muscle ticking. And absolutely don't mention the locked room on the 3rd floor that he disappeared into sometimes for hours. I need you to trust me, he'd said when she'd asked about the room. Can you do that? I'm trying. Try harder. His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her lips. Because I can't have you in my life halfway, Nelo. Either you're all in, or you need to leave now before this goes any further. I'm all in, she'd whispered, even though part of her screamed that she was making a mistake. Good. He'd kissed her then, deep and claiming. Because I'm not letting you go. Ever. 3 months later, Taemin invited her to coffee. Her best friend from university had been distant since she'd moved in with Ji-hoon. Their study sessions had stopped. His calls went unanswered because Ji-hoon's schedule consumed her time. But seeing him at their usual cafe felt like coming up for air. You look different, Taemin said, studying her face. Happy but tense. I'm fine. Are you? Because I did some research on Park Ji-hoon and Nelo, the things I found. Stop. She held up her hand. Whatever you found, I already know. Do you know his family is connected to organized crime? That his father built their empire through extortion and violence? That Ji-hoon isn't just some businessman. He's the heir to one of the most dangerous operations in Seoul. He's never hurt me. Yet. Taemin leaned forward, his voice urgent. I'm worried about you. This isn't the life you came to Seoul for. You're supposed to be building your career, not becoming the wife of a... Don't. Her voice was sharp. Don't finish that sentence.
Why?
Because the truth hurts. Because you don't know him like I do. And you think you do? Taemin's laugh was bitter. Men like Park Ji-hoon don't let people know them. They control. They possess. And one day, you'll wake up and realize you've lost yourself to someone who sees you as property. His words stayed with her.
Festered.
Because there was truth in them that she didn't want to acknowledge. That night, she confronted Ji-hoon. What exactly is your business? She demanded, finding him in his office at midnight, papers spread across his desk. He looked up, his expression unreadable. We've had this conversation. No, you've avoided this conversation. I need the truth, Ji-hoon. All of it. He stood slowly, buttoning his suit jacket in that deliberate way that meant he was buying time to think. The truth is complicated. Then uncomplicated. My family controls territory. We handle imports and exports that don't go through traditional channels. We provide protection to businesses that pay for it. We settle disputes that can't be settled in courts. His eyes never left hers. We operate in the shadows because that's where real power lives. You're talking about crime. I'm talking about survival. About maintaining order in a world that would descend into chaos without structure. He moved closer. I don't deal drugs. I don't traffic people. I have lines I don't cross. But yes, Nelo, what I do exists outside the law. And you're okay with that? I'm necessary with that. His hand caught her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. You want me to apologize for who I am? I won't. This is my world. I inherited it, and I'll pass it on. The only question is whether you can accept it. Before we continue, let me ask you something. Would you stay with someone like Ji-hoon? A man who's dangerous, controlling, but loves you like you're his entire world? Drop a heart in the comments if you're Team Ji-hoon, or a broken heart if you think Nelo should run while she still can. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button because what happens next will leave you speechless. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. I'm necessary with that. His hand caught her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. You want me to apologize for who I am? I won't. This is my world. I inherited it and I'll pass it on. The only question is whether you can accept it. Nelo stared at him, her heart racing. She should leave, pack her bags and run back to her father's safe world. But the truth was, she'd already made her choice the moment she let him into her life. I accept it, she whispered. I accept you. Something shifted in Ji-hoon's expression. Relief. Possession. Maybe both. He pulled her close, his hand sliding into her hair as his lips claimed hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. Then you're mine, he breathed against her mouth. Completely. No going back. I know. Over the next months, their relationship deepened. Ji-hoon was demanding but attentive. He'd show up at her apartment at midnight just because he missed her voice. He'd cancel important meetings when she mentioned wanting to try a new restaurant. He memorized the way she took her coffee, the books she loved, the specific ways she liked to be held when she was overwhelmed. But he also kept parts of himself locked away. The late-night phone calls he'd taken in another room. The meetings that ended with tension radiating from his body. The way his knuckles would sometimes be bruised when he showed up at her door. Marry me, he said one evening. They were on his penthouse balcony, Seoul glittering below them. No ring. No grand gesture. Just those two words spoken like they were inevitable. Nelo's breath caught. Ji-hoon. I know it's fast. I know you should have more time. But I can't, he paused, his jaw tightening. I need you bound to me. Legally.
Completely.
Because the thought of you walking away destroys me. It was the closest he'd ever come to vulnerability, and it undid her completely. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. His kiss was devastating.
Claiming.
Like he was sealing a promise that couldn't be broken. The wedding happened 2 months later.
Small ceremony.
Her father attended with worry etched on his face. Ji-hoon's family came, cold, calculating people who looked at her like a temporary inconvenience. But when Ji-hoon slid the ring on her finger, his hand trembled slightly, and Nelo knew that beneath all his control, this mattered to him deeply. Being Mrs. Park changed everything. She moved into his penthouse fully. Woke up to him every morning, his arm possessively wrapped around her waist. Fell asleep to the sound of his heartbeat. It should have been perfect. But Ji-hoon's world demanded things from him she couldn't always understand. Late-night phone calls in rapid Korean. Meetings that ended with tension radiating from his body. Men who visited at odd hours, speaking in low voices that stopped when she entered rooms. He never brought the darkness home.
But she saw it anyway.
In the bruised knuckles he'd try to hide. In the way he'd hold her at night like she was the only thing keeping him human. In the locked room on the 3rd floor he disappeared into sometimes, emerging hours later with that cold, calculated look that made her remember exactly who he was. Where were you tonight? She'd ask when he came home at 3 a.m. Handling business. Ji-hoon. Trust me, Nelo. His hand would cup her face, thumb brushing her lips. That's all I need from you. Trust.
And she did.
For 6 months, she trusted without question. Went to her classes.
Came home to him.
Pretended the locked doors and dangerous men were just part of loving someone like Park Ji-hoon. But slowly, she started disappearing. She stopped seeing Taemin. Stopped attending study groups. Her world shrank to Ji-hoon's penthouse and the university library, nothing in between. She was becoming a shadow of herself, and the worst part was, she didn't even realize it was happening until it was almost too late. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night. Ji-hoon had canceled dinner plans. Again. The 3rd time that week. Some emergency meeting he couldn't postpone. Nelo ate alone in their massive dining room, the silence pressing down on her like a physical weight. When he finally came home at midnight, she was still awake, sitting in the living room with cold tea and simmering resentment. "You're up," he said, surprise flickering across his face. "Where else would I be? It's not like I have anywhere to go." His eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm tired, Ji-hoon. Tired of eating alone. Tired of sleeping alone. Tired of being your wife only when it's convenient for you." "Convenient?" His voice dropped dangerously low. "You think any of this is convenient? I'm building an empire. Protecting what's ours." "What's ours? Or what's yours?" She stood, anger finally breaking through. "Because I don't feel like I'm part of anything except this penthouse. I'm just here, waiting. Always waiting for you to have time for me. You knew what this life entailed when you married me. I knew you were busy. I didn't know I'd become invisible." Something flashed in his eyes. Anger. Maybe hurt. "You're never invisible to me." "Really? When was the last time we had dinner together? When was the last time you asked about my day, my research, my life outside of being Mrs. Park?" The silence stretched between them, damning. "That's what I thought," Nelo whispered, her throat tight. "What do you want from me?" Ji-hoon's voice was strained. "I'm doing everything I can to keep you safe, to give you the life you deserve. I don't want to be kept, Ji-hoon. I want to be seen. I want to exist outside these walls. I want my friends back, my life back." His jaw clenched.
Fine.
"See your friends. Live your life. But you're still my wife, Nelo. And that means something in my world." He disappeared into his office after that, and they didn't speak for 2 days. When Taemin called about the gala, it felt like oxygen after drowning. "The International Relations Department fundraiser is Friday," he said. "You should come. Everyone misses you." "I'll be there," she said immediately. She bought the dress that afternoon. Emerald silk that hugged her curves and made her feel powerful again.
Beautiful again.
Like the woman she used to be before she became Mrs. Park. Friday evening, she stood in front of the mirror, the dress on, her clutch ready. She looked good. More than good. She looked like herself again. That's when his voice cut through the room. "That dress isn't leaving this house. And neither are you." Park Ji-hoon stood in the doorway, still in his work clothes, his tie loosened and his sleeves rolled up. But it was his eyes that made her breath catch.
Dark.
Intense. Burning with something that went beyond anger. "You don't get to decide that," Nelo said, forcing her voice steady. He moved into the room slowly, each step deliberate. Controlled. "Don't I?" His hand reached out, fingers trailing down her bare arm, leaving heat in their wake. "You think I'm going to let you walk out of here looking like this? Let every man at that gala see what's mine? I'm not a possession, Ji-hoon. Aren't you?" His hand slid to her waist, pulling her flush against him. "Your heart is racing. Your breath is shallow. You're still here when you could have left already." His lips brushed her ear. "You're mine, Nelo. You've been mine since the moment you said yes to me." She pushed against his chest, needing space to think. "This isn't about us. This is about me remembering who I am outside of being your wife." "You're going to him." It wasn't a question. Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. "To Taemin, in that dress. To a university event. With colleagues and friends. You're lying to yourself if you think that's all this is." He stepped closer again, crowding her space. "You're running. From me. From us. Using him as an excuse to feel something you think you've lost." "Maybe I have lost something." The words burst out before she could stop them. "I've lost myself, Ji-hoon. I don't recognize my life anymore. I don't recognize me." Something flickered in his expression.
Pain, maybe.
But it was gone so fast she might have imagined it. "Then find yourself here. With me." His hand cupped her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone. "Not at some gala, where you'll spend the whole night pretending you're not thinking about me." "You're so sure of that?" "I know you, Nelo. Better than you know yourself sometimes." His forehead pressed against hers. "You think leaving will make you feel free? It won't. It'll just make you realize that everything you're looking for is right here." "You're so arrogant." "I'm right. His lips hovered over hers, not quite touching. Tell me you don't want me right now. Tell me this dress isn't partly about making me lose my mind. Tell me you don't love it when I look at you like I want to destroy anyone who even thinks about touching you. Her breath hitched because he wasn't wrong. Some part of her had wanted this reaction, had wanted to shake his control and make him feel even a fraction of the chaos he put her through. I need this, she whispered. I need to go tonight. Not because of Taemin. Because I need to prove to myself that I still exist outside of us. Ji-hoon was silent for a long moment. She could see the war in his eyes. The battle between the man who loved her and the man who controlled everything in his world. Finally, he stepped back. The loss of his touch felt like cold water. Go then. His voice was flat. Empty. Wear your dress. See your friends. Dance with Taemin. Relief and disappointment warred in her chest. Ji-hoon. But understand this. He turned those dark eyes on her, and the intensity made her shiver. You walk out that door. You're choosing to hurt me. You're choosing him and that world over staying here and fighting for us. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair, Nelo. But it's the truth. He moved to the window, his back to her. I won't stop you. I won't lock you in or take your dress or play the villain you clearly want me to be right now. His shoulders tensed. But know that every second you're gone, I'll be here. Imagining him making you laugh. Imagining other men looking at you in that dress. Slowly losing my mind. Guilt twisted in her stomach. You're being dramatic. Am I? He turned back, and the raw emotion in his eyes stopped her breath. My brother has been making moves against me, questioning my leadership, suggesting that marrying you made me weak. His hand clenched into a fist. And maybe he's right, because the thought of you walking out that door destroys me in ways that actual enemies never could. This was new. Ji-hoon never talked about vulnerability, never admitted that anything affected him beyond cold calculation. Your brother? Nelo's mind raced. What does he have to do with this? Everything. Ji-hoon's laugh was bitter. He's been waiting for me to show weakness. And you, his gaze traveled over her. You're my weakness, Nelo. The only thing in this world that could actually break me. So, this isn't about jealousy. It's about power. It's about both. He closed the distance between them again, his hand sliding into her hair. I'm jealous because you're mine, and the thought of sharing even a moment of you makes me violent. And I'm concerned because loving you has made me vulnerable in ways I can't afford in my world. Then maybe you shouldn't have married me. The words came out sharper than she intended, but she was tired. Tired of being a pawn in games she didn't understand. Tired of feeling guilty for wanting a piece of her old life back. Ji-hoon's grip tightened in her hair. Not painful, but firm. Possessive. Don't. His voice dropped to that deadly quiet. Don't ever suggest that I regret you. You're the only good thing in my life, Nelo. The only pure thing in a world that's rotten to the core. Then let me breathe, she pleaded. Let me have this one night without making it about your world and your enemies and your control. He stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, he released her and stepped back.
Fine.
Go to your gala. He straightened his tie with deliberate movements. But I'm coming with you. What? You want your night? You'll have it. But I'll be there. His eyes held hers. Not as your jailer. As your husband. Let them see that you're mine. Let Taemin see exactly who you go home to. Nelo's heart raced. Ji-hoon, you can't. The university, your reputation. I don't care about any of that. He moved closer, his hand sliding down her arm to capture her hand. I care about you. And if being seen with you at some university gala is what it takes to keep you safe and remind the world who you belong to, then that's what I'll do. You're being ridiculous. I'm being your husband. He brought her hand to his lips, his eyes never leaving hers. Now, are we going to this gala together? Or are we going to stay here and I'll show you exactly why you don't need anyone else? The way he looked at her made heat pool in her stomach. That hungry, possessive look that promised he'd worship her body until she forgot her own name. We have an hour before we need to leave, she said softly. Ji-hoon's smile was predatory. Then I better make it count. He kissed her then, deep and demanding, his hands mapping her body through the silk dress like he was memorizing every curve. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. "We're going to that gala," he said against her lips. "You're going to dance with your friend. You're going to laugh and remember why you love your academic world." His hand slid to the back of her neck. "And then I'm bringing you home and reminding you exactly why you're Mrs. Park." Hey besties, I'm sure you're liking the story so far. Who are rooting for, Team Ji-hoon or Team Taemin? Comment below. Are you on the side of the possessive mafia boss who can't let his wife breathe, or the best friend who's trying to save her from a dangerous world? And if you're as hooked as I think you are, smash that like button and subscribe because this story is about to take a drastic twist. The drama, the tension, the romance, it's all coming to a head. Now, let's dive back in. The gala was everything Nelo remembered, and nothing like she expected. The university's grand hall was transformed with soft lighting and elegant decorations. Her former classmates mingled in clusters, wine glasses in hand, discussing research projects and departmental politics. It should have felt like coming home. Instead, it felt like wearing someone else's skin. Because Park Ji-hoon stood beside her, his hand possessively settled at the small of her back, and every eye in the room tracked their entrance like they'd walked in with a live grenade. "You're causing a scene," Nelo whispered.
Good.
His thumb traced circles against her spine through the silk. "Let them look." Taemin spotted them immediately. His expression shifted from excitement to something harder when he registered Ji-hoon's presence. "Nelo, you made it." He approached with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "And you brought company." "My husband," Nelo said firmly. "Ji-hoon, this is Taemin, my friend from the program." Ji-hoon extended his hand, and Nelo didn't miss the way his grip was just slightly too firm, his smile just slightly too cold. "The friend she dresses up for," Ji-hoon said pleasantly. Dangerously. Taemin's jaw tightened. "The friend who's been here while you kept her locked away for 6 months. "Taemin," Nelo started. "It's fine." Ji-hoon's hand slid around her waist, pulling her closer.
He's protective of you. I can respect that.
As long as he remembers where the line is. The tension was thick enough to cut. Several nearby conversations had stopped, people pretending not to watch while absolutely watching. "I need a drink," Nelo said, needing to break the moment before it escalated. "I'll get it." Ji-hoon's lips brushed her temple. "Don't go anywhere." It wasn't a suggestion. When he disappeared toward the bar, Taemin exhaled sharply. "What are you doing, Nelo? Bringing him here?" "He's my husband. I wasn't going to lie about that." "You look miserable." "I'm fine." "You're not." Taemin's voice softened. "I can see it. You're drowning in his world, and tonight was supposed to be about you remembering who you are. Instead, he's here, marking territory like some—" "Don't." Nelo cut him off. "Don't finish that sentence."
Why?
"Because it's true." Taemin stepped closer, his voice urgent. "You deserve better than being someone's possession.
You're brilliant, Nelo.
You're supposed to be changing the world, not playing housewife to a man who—" "Who what?" Ji-hoon's voice came from behind them, cold and sharp. He handed Nelo her drink without taking his eyes off Taemin. "Please, finish your thought." Taemin's hands clenched. A man who controls her every move. Who keeps her isolated from her friends. Who shows up at a university event like he owns the place. "I do own the place, actually." Ji-hoon's smile was razor-sharp. "The Kim Foundation that sponsors this department? My family controls it. The building you're standing in? We provided the funding for the renovation." He took a sip of his whiskey. "So, yes, I do own the place. But I'm not here for that. I'm here because my wife wanted to come, and I want her happy." The revelation hung in the air. Nelo's eyes widened. She hadn't known, hadn't realized the extent of Ji-hoon's reach into every corner of her life. "You didn't tell her," Taemin said, something like triumph in his voice. "She didn't even know you control her university. What else are you hiding?" Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. For a moment, Nelo saw real anger flash in his eyes. Not the controlled kind. The dangerous kind. Nelo. He turned to her, his voice carefully neutral. Dance with him. Get it out of your system. I'll be at the bar. He walked away before she could respond, and Nelo felt something crack in her chest. See, Taemin said quietly. Even he knows this isn't right. But Nelo wasn't listening. She was watching Ji-hoon's retreating back, seeing the tension in his shoulders, recognizing the set of his jaw that meant he was holding back something violent. The band started playing something slow and romantic. Couples drifted to the dance floor. Dance with me, Taemin offered his hand. Like old times. Before everything got complicated. Nelo hesitated, her eyes still tracking Ji-hoon across the room. He'd positioned himself at the bar with a clear view of the dance floor. Watching. Always watching. One dance, she agreed. Taemin's hand settled at her waist as they joined the other couples. It felt wrong. Too familiar and not familiar enough all at once. I've missed this, Taemin said softly. Missed you. The real you. I'm still me. Are you? Because the Nelo I knew wouldn't let anyone control her life like this. He spun her gently. You had dreams. Plans. You were going to work for the UN, change policy, make a difference. What happened to that? Life happened. Love happened. That's not love, Nelo. Love doesn't isolate you. It doesn't make you afraid to live your own life. She wanted to argue. Wanted to defend Ji-hoon and their complicated, messy relationship. But the words stuck in her throat because part of her wondered if Taemin was right. Across the room, Ji-hoon's knuckles whitened around his glass. He's going to lose it, Taemin observed, following her gaze. Good. Let him see what it feels like to watch someone you care about with someone else. This isn't about making him jealous. Isn't it? Taemin pulled her slightly closer. You wore that dress for a reason. You came here for a reason. Maybe it's time to admit that you're not as happy as you pretend to be. Before Nelo could respond, a hand landed on Taemin's shoulder. Hard. The dance is over. Ji-hoon's voice was deadly quiet. Taemin didn't move. The song isn't finished. I don't care about the song. Ji-hoon's eyes were black with barely controlled fury. Take your hands off my wife. Or what? Taemin challenged. You'll have me removed? Ruin my career? Show everyone here exactly what kind of man you really are. Ji-hoon smiled. It was terrifying. No. I'll simply remind you that touching what's mine has consequences. And trust me, you don't want to find out what those consequences are. Stop it. Both of you. Nelo stepped back, her heart racing. This is exactly what I didn't want. But neither man was listening. They stood chest to chest, tension radiating off them like heat. She deserves better than you, Taemin said. Maybe. Ji-hoon's voice dropped lower. But she chose me anyway. So either accept that or get the hell out of her life. Ji-hoon. Nelo reached for his arm. He caught her hand, pulling her against him possessively. We're leaving. No. She pulled back. I'm not leaving because you can't control your jealousy for 5 minutes. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. Nelo. I came here tonight because I needed this. Needed to remember who I am outside of being Mrs. Park. Her voice shook. And all you've done is prove that I can't have both. That choosing you means losing myself. The words hit him like a physical blow. She saw it in the way his expression shifted from anger to something that looked almost like pain. That's not, he started. It is. Tears burned her eyes. You fund my university. You control my friendships. You decide where I go and what I wear and who I see. When does it end, Ji-hoon? When do I get to just be Nelo again? The room had gone silent. Everyone watching. Waiting. Ji-hoon's jaw worked. For a long moment, he just stared at her, something breaking behind his eyes. Then he turned and walked out. Just like that. No argument. No command for her to follow. He simply left, and Nelo stood there feeling like she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. You okay? Taemin touched her arm gently. She pulled away. I need air. Nelo pushed through the crowd, ignoring concerned looks and whispered questions. She made it to the hallway before the tears started falling. What had she done? She'd wanted freedom, space to breathe. Instead, she'd humiliated her husband in front of everyone, had thrown his vulnerabilities in his face, had proven every fear he'd ever had about her choosing her old world over him. Her phone buzzed. A text from Ji-hoon. The car is waiting outside when you're ready. No pressure. No demands. Just know that I'll be waiting. Always. Her heart cracked completely. Because that was the problem, wasn't it? Ji-hoon was controlling and possessive and sometimes infuriating. But he also loved her with an intensity that terrified them both. And she'd just destroyed him in a room full of strangers to prove a point that suddenly felt hollow. Nelo stood in the hallway for exactly 3 minutes before she made her decision. She texted back, "I'm coming home." The ride back to the penthouse was silent. Ji-hoon's driver kept his eyes on the road, professional enough not to acknowledge her tear-stained face in the rearview mirror. When they pulled up to the building, her heart hammered against her ribs. The penthouse was dark except for a single light in the living room. Ji-hoon stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, still in his suit, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He didn't turn when she entered, but she saw his shoulders tense. "I'm sorry," Nelo said into the silence. "Don't." His voice was rough. Tired. "Don't apologize for telling the truth. It wasn't the truth. Not all of it." She moved closer, her heels clicking against the marble floor. "I was angry and hurt, and I said things to hurt you back. You said I control everything about your life." He finally turned, and the exhaustion in his eyes made her chest ache. "You said choosing me means losing yourself. Was that a lie?" She wanted to say yes, wanted to take it all back. But they'd built their relationship on honesty, even when it hurt. "No," she whispered. "It wasn't a lie. But it wasn't the whole truth either." Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. He set down his glass with careful precision. "Then what's the whole truth, Nelo? Because I'm tired of guessing. Tired of trying to give you everything while apparently taking away the things that matter most. The whole truth is that I love you." Her voice cracked. "I love you so much it terrifies me. Because yes, you're controlling and possessive and sometimes you make decisions without consulting me. But you also make me feel seen in ways no one else ever has. You listen when I talk about my research like it matters. You remember details about my life that I forget myself. You look at me like I'm the only thing in the world worth protecting. But it's not enough. It wasn't a question. It's too much and not enough all at once." She closed the distance between them, her hand reaching for his face. "I don't know how to be your wife and still be myself. I don't know how to live in your world without drowning in it." Ji-hoon caught her hand, pressing it harder against his cheek. "Then teach me. Tell me what you need. Because walking away isn't an option for me, Nelo. I'd rather burn my entire empire to the ground than lose you. I don't want you to burn anything down. I just want," she paused, trying to find the words. "I want to breathe. I want friends. I want to finish my degree and maybe have a career that's mine, not something connected to your family's foundation. I want to be Mrs. Park and Nelo Okonkwo. Both. Not one or the other." He was silent for a long moment, his dark eyes searching hers. "My brother called tonight," he said finally, "while you were at the gala." The change of subject threw her. "What?" "He's been planning something. A move against me. He wanted to meet." Ji-hoon's hand tightened on hers. "He suggested that if I stepped down from leadership, gave him control of the family business, he'd leave you alone. Leave us alone." Nelo's blood ran cold. "What did you tell him?" "I told him to go to hell." A bitter smile. "But the offer made me realize something. I've been so focused on protecting you from external threats that I didn't see I was becoming the threat. I was suffocating you to keep you safe, and in the process, I was losing you anyway." "Ji-hoon. Let me finish." His other hand cupped her face. "I can't change who I am completely. I'll always be possessive. I'll always want to know you're safe. But I can try. I can give you space. Let you have your friends, and your life, and your dreams." His thumb traced her lips. "Even if it kills me to watch you walk out that door sometimes." "I don't want to walk away from you," Nelo whispered. I just want to walk beside you. As equals. Equals. He tested the word. In my world, that's dangerous. It makes you a target. Then we figure out together. You teach me how to survive in your world, and I teach you how to let go of some control in mine. Something shifted in his expression. Hope, maybe. Or the beginning of understanding. I funded your university because I wanted you to have the best education possible, he admitted. Not to control you. I didn't even think about how it would look until your friend threw it in my face tonight. I know. I think I've always known your intentions were good. But intentions don't always matter when the result is the same. So what do we do? For the first time since she'd known him, Park Ji-hoon sounded unsure. Vulnerable. How do we fix this? We start with honesty. No more secrets about your business dealings or your family. No more making decisions about my life without consulting me. She took a breath. And I promise to tell you when I'm feeling suffocated before it builds into a fight that humiliates us both.
Deal.
His lips curved slightly. Though watching you in that dress tonight, knowing every man in that room wanted what's mine, I'm not sure I'll ever be okay with that. You don't have to be okay with it. You just have to trust me enough to handle it. I do trust you. His forehead pressed against hers. It's everyone else I don't trust. Then trust that I chose you. That I married you. That even when I'm angry and hurt and feeling lost, I still come home to you. Her hands slid into his hair. Because you're my home now, Ji-hoon. Even when home feels complicated.
He kissed her then.
Soft and desperate and full of everything they couldn't say with words. When he pulled back, his eyes were bright with something that looked like unshed tears. I love you, he said simply. More than power. More than legacy. More than anything in this world. And if loving you means learning to let go sometimes, then I'll learn. And I love you enough to stay. To fight. To figure this out even when it's hard. They stood there in the dim light, holding each other like they could fuse their broken pieces back together through sheer will. Nelo's phone buzzed. A text from Taemin. Are you okay? Do you need anything?
She showed Ji-hoon the message.
His jaw tightened for a moment. Then he exhaled slowly.
Answer him. Tell him you're fine.
And Nelo?
Keep your friend.
I won't ask you to cut him out of your life. It was a peace offering. An olive branch. And Nelo knew what it cost him to extend it. She texted back quickly. I'm home. I'm safe. And I'm happy. Thank you for caring. Then she turned off her phone and pulled Ji-hoon toward their bedroom. Show me, she whispered against his lips. Show me why I'm Mrs. Park. Remind me why I chose this. Chose you. His eyes darkened with heat and possession and something deeper. Something that looked like reverence. Gladly. 3 weeks later, Nelo walked into the penthouse at 7 in the evening, laughing at something Taemin had texted her about their professor's latest lecture disaster. Ji-hoon was already home, unusually early, sitting at the dining table with papers spread around him. You're home early, she said, kissing his cheek. Finished meetings early. His hand caught hers, pulling her into his lap. How was your study group?
Good. Productive.
Taemin says hello. She felt him tense slightly, then deliberately relax. Tell him I said hello back. It was progress. Slow, sometimes painful progress, but progress nonetheless. I have something to tell you, Ji-hoon said, his hand settling at her waist. Good or bad? Depends on how you look at it. He paused. My brother made his move. Tried to turn the family council against me. Claimed I'd gone soft. That marrying you made me weak and unfit to lead. Nelo's heart sank. Ji-hoon. I handled it. His voice was calm. Final. Show them exactly why I'm still the best choice to lead this family. But in doing so, I had to make it very clear that you're not a weakness. You're my strength. And anyone who threatens you threatens me directly. What does that mean? It means my world knows about you now. Really knows. Not just that I'm married, but that you matter to me more than anything. His eyes held hers. It makes you a target, Nelo. A real one. Not just theoretical anymore. Fear crept up her spine. Should I be worried?
No.
Because I've made arrangements. Enhanced security. New protocols. And I've made it crystal clear that touching you would be the last mistake anyone ever makes. His hand tightened on her waist. But I need you to be careful. More careful than before.
Can you do that for me?
This was the reality of loving Park Ji-hoon. The darkness that came with the light. The danger that shadowed the devotion. I can do that, she agreed. As long as you promise me something. Anything. Promise me we'll keep fighting for this. For us. Even when it gets hard. Even when your world tries to swallow us whole. I promise. He kissed her softly. We're in this together now. Equals, remember? Equals, she repeated and meant it. So there you have it. A love story that exists in the shadows. A woman who chose danger wrapped in devotion. A man who learned that true power isn't control, it's trust. Was it the right choice? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure. When you love a man like Park Ji-hoon, ordinary was never an option. If this story got you in your feelings, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. Could you love someone whose world is built on danger? Would you stay or would you run? Drop a heart if you believe love conquers all, or a fire if you think some loves are too dangerous to survive.